At this point in time, I'd like to call our Morris County Freeholder Christine Meyers. I can see Kathy Filippo, but anyone else that would like to come up from the county for the presentation?
John Benani.
Not that.
And Dina. You got it. Dina Leary is with us tonight, who is the newly minted Deputy Administrator, Assistant County Administrator. So
Congratulations.
Very
good.
Tremendous achievement. She's fantastic. So we're going to take very little of your time, not 20 minutes. John knows. No. Especially since I told Stan I was going to be home at 8. So really what we want to do is just give you a very high-level view of what the budget looks like and what we're working with and some of the priorities that we have. And our interest in going out to the towns is to make sure that we continue to be aligned as a county with where we're going. So with that, I'm not going to go as fast as John does in saying the oath, but pretty darn close. Okay.
The clock is running.
The clock is running. Just saying. Okay. So, oh yeah, I still have to get the right budget. I have the right one. Okay. So the goals of the budget and the goals we met this year were to maintain and in some cases expand critical county services, to continue valuable and cost-effective shared services across municipalities and with other counties, and to deliver critical services for those in need, including, but not in an extensive list, obviously the County College of Morris, the School of Technology, the 287 miles of roads and 4 railroads, 1,000 bridges and culverts, 380 buildings and structures, almost 19,000 acres of park, historical and heritage associations, and obviously our natural and waste resource management efforts. So what the budget reflected in 2017 was an increase of approximately $14 per household, or 1.79% increase. We had a $1.5 billion increase in rateables, which is duly noted and should be noted, because without that, our taxes would be higher, and that this is something we'll come back to as far as goals in the future. But right now we're sitting at a $332 million budget for this year. You'll see a slight increase in 2016, and it looks like it's decreasing in 2017, but really that is an accounting change at the state level for psychiatric services. So just to note that in case it looks odd. All right, so where do those increases come from? Well, what we have is $6 million in health care and health insurance. This is something we look at repeatedly, but just so you know how prudential our team is, compared to the state average, which is an 8.3% increase, our increase was only 4.6%. But it is something, again, we look at constantly. We had $2 million in anticipated salary adjustments. Only 10% of that was not bargained for. $1 million in Morrisview transition costs. As you all know, Mayor Sisler included that we had in fact leased Morrisview to Alaire earlier this summer. Now in order to make that happen, we had to make sure that we could convey the contracts, that we could prepare ourselves to have that lease take on this in July. That accounts for the $1 million in elevated costs in order to curtail the contracts and do what we needed to do. We also have the impact of $750,000 in criminal justice reform. I say stay tuned. I'm not sure that we've seen the last shoe on that drop, but the prosecutor's office, the jail, our people have been responsive to the requirements of criminal justice reform. We have $638,000 in pension increases, $229,000 in state human services and mental health needs, and $70,000 for strategic planning initiatives. So I'm going to go back to the one I skipped over, which is $500,000 for countywide EMS service. Now earlier this year, it was brought to our attention that because we have so few volunteers during the week, during the day, across the county, that the county would look into providing this service and having it out there in the field wherever it needed to be. So we put money into that in order to make sure that we could be there in case someone needed us. Now, a break even for us is about 4 call-outs a day. This program started at the end of February. We are about 3 calls a day. So you can see that we, in fact, do need the project, in my estimation. And that cost is obviously spread across the 39 towns. John, do you have anything you want to add to that? Okay, and the $70,000 is for a strategic planning initiative that I'm going to wrap up with at the end. But this is to create a strategic plan for the county. So, as I said, I'll wrap that up at the end. The 2017 Morris County debt management falls in line with what we have done in several years in the past. It's about $27.1 million in debt for various capital infrastructure projects, including $7.8 million for road resurfacing, $4 million for building structural improvements, including criminal justice reform, 2.4 for the design and replacement of bridges, 2.3 for law and public safety equipment, 2.2 for educational facilities, 2.16 for the replacement of public works equipment, and 1.5 for information technology equipment. Okay, so again, in line. But just as a higher overview, obviously public safety continues to be a preeminent concern for us. So obviously what the sheriff does, the jail, the courthouse, OEM, SMART 911, which has been implemented, the Office of Health, and the medical examiner. Some of these are now programs that we offer to different counties, like the medical examiner and the health office, health service. So that's the kind of stuff we want to look to increasing over the next couple of years. Planning and public works. Again, we have 297 miles of roads, 1,000 bridges. We have 3.3 million square feet of buildings. And obviously, as you know, and you've taken advantage of open space, farmland, historic preservation, flood mitigation, the popular trails construction, which is phenomenal to see, and obviously planning, board, and construction appeals. Human services, probably our most critical of all areas of interest, is an incredible organization. I'm so proud of the team that we have, and I've learned that we have here at Morris County. 283 residents now in Morrisview. Obviously, the Office of Temporary Assistance, Nutrition, Aging, Disability, Veteran Services, Mental Health Services, Substance Abuse Services, which we are responding to, and Transportation Services. As our population ages, maybe you don't, but some of us do. These are becoming more and more important and an area of concern as we also change things like mental health, fee for service. Things that are going to impact us downstream is an area to watch out as far as I'm concerned, so we can continue to take care of our own. But earlier this year, we received, again, our AAA bond rating, being one of only 6 counties in the state. And we were at those meetings, and I can tell you how proud I was and how happy our CFO was at these meetings. He was like joyful at the way they were going through this. But clearly what they saw in us was that we had a prioritized spending plan, that we had long-term and contingent debt liability management process, that our multi-year financial planning process was in fact being implemented, and that we adhered to it, and it was conservative for them, and also that we had strict adherence to a debt management practice, which we put into policy this year. And that they saw in us our interest to ensure that we had proper economic and sustainable growth, and that we were taking that into consideration. Clearly, without a strong economic backbone, we would not be able to provide the services that we do to the level that we can, to the quality of life that we achieve. So that was critical to them. Now the county has taken on, and my colleagues in particular, a strategic plan for the future. With the turbulent economic times that we have, with the impending regulatory shifts that we may see over the next several years, we felt it was imperative to ensure that the county was functioning in a way that supported the municipalities, and that 20 years from now, we were where we wanted to be and designed to be, as opposed to where we ended up being. So in November, we went forward and created a vision, mission, and guiding principles for the Freeholder Board. And in May, we passed a resolution to develop a strategic plan for the county. Now, what's going to happen over the next several months is that we put together a steering committee of both public officials and private sector leaders from various places around the county to create strategic pillars, initiatives that we see would be helpful to us in designing this plan. A communication process will go out to the municipalities and key stakeholder community at our community levels to ensure we're getting the right information and creating a plan that makes sense across our diverse county. We'll establish the priorities, we'll build implementation plans, and then we will execute those implementation plans, measure and monitor our success, and communicate that back to our 39 municipalities to again ensure that we are doing what we need to do to keep our quality of life, to keep us safe, to keep a strong economic backbone in place, that it is sustainable, and that we in fact keep intact our unique and beautiful area in which we live. So you will hear more about this, and stay tuned because chances are I'll be reaching out to you. They have allowed me to spearhead this with John and Dina. Kathy DiFilippo and Deb Smith will be helping me, but as I said, we have involved a number of key leaders across the areas of our county, so I'm pretty excited about that. And that is what we are doing.
Thank you.
Any questions?
11 minutes.
No, I know, when I tripped over my words, I can't remember them like you do.
Chris, just a quick question. You mentioned there were 6 counties in all of
The state?
that had the AAA rating.
Yes,
Okay. Are the rest like AA or do they rate?
And below.
And below.
and below, right. And the debt management policy, that was something they were looking for us to put into place, which is new.
We had a practice for years, and they just wanted to see that codified into policy, which is exactly what we do.
And they were both of them stated that they liked what they saw and they felt confident about where we were going because we were not afraid to do what we needed to do, whether that was raise taxes or whatever it may be. And that gave them confidence. Anything else?
Can I just ask about because we have had conversations in the past about Marshview.
Yeah, you got that message I sent you, right?
How is it going there? I mean, how in terms of the transition, you know, if I want to get an elderly relative in there, is it the same
Exact
process? The same exact process?
process.
It's just not run by
That's
the
correct.
county anymore.
Right.
Well, it still is.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it still is. We always had a management company in there. The management company was Premier, and their contract was up at the end of June. So by that time, the board had made a decision that we were going to contract with Alair Healthcare to operate the complete facility in the leasing environment.
Mhm.
So we went out to bid, and Alair got the management contract. So they're actually in there now managing it the same way Premier is, but it's the same application process.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tell Stanley say hello.
Yeah.
Tell him I apologize.
Not to
That's
fix
all right,
anything.
that's all right. And please do let me know if you need anything else.
Yes,
Thanks, Chief.
thank you.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.